Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Joe Palmer begins now.
Good evening, everyone. The family of a man brutally murdered has watched his killers be sentenced to more than 20 years behind bars. Today, a judge described the murder of Aaron Matthew Monaco as utterly senseless, labelling his murderers callous and selfish.
A devastated family leaves court, relieved at finally seeing justice served.
Aaron was a much-loved son, brother, nephew and friend to many. He was a kind, gentle man who would do anything for those he cared about.
The 41-year-old was fatally stabbed by Belinda Leonie Colburn and Nathan Thomas Smith in Newnham on November 4, 2016. Today, Justice Gregory Geeson recounted the night of the killing, saying the pair had been angry at Mr Monaco for overstaying his welcome at a home he shared with Smith. After a prolonged drinking session, they travelled to the Prua Road address and confronted Mr Monaco. Police found him bleeding on a neighbour's doorstep. He died on the way to hospital. Pleading guilty, Smith said he alone was responsible. Colburn maintained her innocence, but that was rejected. Justice Geeson said the victim stood no chance against Smith, who was assisted by Colburn. He went on to describe the killing as utterly senseless, an act of selfishness and total disregard for another human being. Those words painfully echoed by the family.
His murder was brutal and senseless, and we will live with the impact of it forever.
Colburn and Smith were both sentenced to 24 years behind bars. Smith will have to serve 14 years before he's eligible for parole, while Colburn will have to serve at least 13 years.
The sentences handed down today give us some measure of relief that justice is being carried out.
Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
A 29-year-old man is in police custody tonight following an alleged wounding in Howrah this morning. Bellerive CIB is investigating the matter, where a 40-year-old man received a deep laceration to his hand. Tasmania Police says a sharp object was used during the incident. Anyone with information is asked to contact Crime Stoppers. Tasmanians are being urged to check their superannuation after revelations about the rate of unpaid super. An investigation using tax office data has found almost 60,000 local workers are missing out on more than $100 million.
Toiling away at work, we're building our retirement nest egg, slowly accumulating superannuation payments from our employers. But an investigation from Industry Super Australia suggests 1 in 4 Tasmanians isn't getting the right amount.
On average, it's costing in Tasmania, each of those workers, about $1,800 a year lost from their super account that would otherwise be there.
Superannuation is compounding. The more you have, the better your returns, the better your retirement's going to be. So any amount that's not paid in super that workers are entitled to has a detrimental effect on their retirement comfort.
Tasmanians in service and manual labour industries, casuals and people under 30 are most at risk of underpayment.
There's a difference between an accident and someone genuinely not knowing and what we think a number of employers are doing, which is actually building a bit of a business model around not having to pay wages and therefore superannuation.
Industry Super is pushing for a change in laws to make it compulsory for employers to pay super at the same time as wages.
The cause of this is some pretty loose laws. At the moment, employers are only required to pay super into a worker's account about 3 or 4 times a year, and unfortunately some, not all, but some employers are taking advantage of that.
Affected workers can find more information about unpaid super on the Tax Office website. Michael Breen, 7 Tasmania News.
Federal Energy Minister Angus Taylor has assured the public the plan for Tasmania to become the battery of the nation is not only on track but ahead of schedule. Hydro Tasmania saying an additional Bass Strait interconnection would instantly unlock hundreds of megawatts currently lying dormant.
Arriving at Poatina this morning, Angus Taylor was pumped to talk power.
Well, this is a pretty quick process. We're moving at a rate of knots here. We've gone through consultation over the last couple of months. The expressions of interest will go through to January.
With the Battery of the Nation conversation taking place for some time now, Hydro Tasmania says its findings prove a second Bass Strait interconnection would immediately unlock power other parts of the country could rely on.
There's 400 megawatts of capacity here in Tasmania that would be unleashed with further interconnection. Victoria's demand peaks in summer, and during summer demand in Tasmania is low, so that excess hydro capacity in Tasmania is the first thing that would get utilised if there was more interconnection.
But it's the cost involved in connecting the battery to the nation which won't be cheap, and exactly how it could be funded remains unclear.
The details about how such a project should be funded and financed is really something that TasNetworks and the Tasmanian government are working on.
The opportunity for us to export what is a valuable commodity into a national grid that's been unstable and strengthening our economy even more is a once-in-a-generation opportunity.
This particular spot here at Powattina was among 14 potential sites identified earlier this year. It could produce an extra 600 megawatts, but in order to make that happen, around $1 billion would need to be spent.
We've got to make sure it stacks up. Any investment by Australian taxpayers or Australian electricity consumers has to stack up, but we know what extraordinary assets, what extraordinary potential there is in the energy sector here and how that can help the rest of Australia.
Jessie Gilmore, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania's northwest has joined the race to snare the growing number of mountain bikers heading to the state. The first 15 kilometres of an ambitious track has opened to riders, but there's still more to come.
It's hoped this will be the next hotspot for riders looking to tear up the trail. Snaking along the river and climbing over hills. Wild Mersey certainly isn't short on good views.
In this project, the idea was to create a variety of experiences. Obviously, starting from the car park, we wanted everybody to be able to access the track.
One rider even made his way from Launceston to be the first to test his wheels.
Very good. Apart from myself and all the potteroos, the trails are very nice and open and flowy. It's going to be good getting a lot of people riding just to bed them in, and they're going to be a lot of fun.
These 15 kilometres are just the start. The final vision is to link Latrobe all the way to Sheffield, but the council still need another $900,000 to make that happen.
The cost of the project is $4.1 million. We're up to 3.2 to develop the first 2 stages, and we require another $900,000 to complete the project. But that's not going to undertake construction on that until maybe 2020.
The Kentish Mayor wants the area to be the state's next Derby, but says the day is coming when Tassie has more trails than it needs.
I think we need a critical mass of tracks in Tasmania, and we're working towards that critical mass. One day there'll be an oversupply, but I think we're on the downside of that. I think there's room for growth.
Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
After rather questionable reviews, the Launceston's Brisbane Street Mall transformation has been officially opened. Today, representatives of all 3 levels of government, which funded the multi-million-dollar makeover, united in cutting the ribbon. Launceston's Mayor Albert Van Zetten admitted reactions to the changes have been mixed.
Lately more positive than negative, which is absolutely fantastic. And what people are starting to realise is, with the upgrade, what this space can be used for. And we saw that very clearly just a few weeks ago with the lighting of the Christmas tree. We had thousands of people right here in the mall, and we had room for everybody, and that was fantastic, and that was the reason that we've made some of these changes.
Stage 1 of the Launceston City deal will now turn its attention to transforming St John Street, which is scheduled to take place next year. Authorities are clamping down on fires as we head deeper into summer. The requirement for fire permits will be extended statewide from Saturday. The TFS says it allows them to keep track of fires and ensure they're done safely, but it's not aimed at discouraging bushfire hazard reduction burns. Permits are already required in the southern and eastern regions and parts of the northwest coast. A new tourist focus campaign is hoping to drive down the number of animals being killed on Tasmanian roads. Experts suggest more than 500,000 wildlife are killed throughout the state every year, a number this project is aiming to curb.
She's only small, but this little wallaby Wendy and her Joey Walter are new mascots for a campaign to save their furry and feathered friends.
The message is both a safety one, look out for yourselves and your friends, but also, of course, protection of the wildlife on our road system.
The colourful pair sit pride of place in Hobart Airport's arrival hall, aiming to capture the attention of the 2.6 million people who flow through here every year.
The fact that this initiative is parked right outside the hire car companies is step one in getting those people engaged, and we need to make sure that it's rolled out around the states.
This screen offering more information about Tasmanian animals and what to do if one is hit.
They've made bookmarks and stickers, one even translated into Mandarin, so we can have people take those messages with them.
Despite ongoing campaigns, we're described by some as the world's roadkill capital. Around 500,000 animals are killed by vehicles every year. Sadly, those numbers are increasing and our threatened species are suffering.
And there's only one species that can do something about it, and that's us as humans.
Slow down a bit, plan your drive at a different time. Don't throw food out the window and attract other animals.
If you hit or see injured wildlife, call 0447 264 625. Louise Hedger, 7 Tasmania News.
Will Hodgman has received an unusual Christmas gift today, with the Australian Education Union hand-delivering more than 2,000 handwritten postcards to his electorate office. Today's move is the result of failed negotiations over the government's 2% wage cap.
They've been filled out by principals, teachers and support staff from all around Tasmania to send a message to the Premier to say start listening to us and start delivering solutions.
I would hope that union leaders, rather than stunts, would actually engage with our members, ask them what they want. Do they want to accept the pay rise and the improved conditions that we are offering through these negotiations, or are they just worried about stunts?
Many school reports will be sent to parents this week without written comments as a result of the industrial dispute. Construction is underway for a demountable shed at Macquarie Point. The structure is being built on the site of the former cold store. It's designed to be a multi-purpose creative hub, including office space, a restaurant and cultural space.
Our program is for 5 years, so the structure is designed to be able to be demounted and reused either somewhere else on site or somewhere else in Tasmania. So the idea is that it's a creative community space that can be adapted to other locations.
The builders hope to have the structure finished by the end of this year.
Hobart Hurricanes recruit Alex Doolan says he knocked back offers from several other BBL clubs to stay in purple, with the Tigers opener announced as the Canes' final signing yesterday. Doolan hopes to slot into the top of the batting order, despite the squad boasting a string of heavy hitters, including Darcy Short, Matthew Wade and Ben McDermott.
I'm pretty confident that I've got some good white ball cricket left in me, and hopeful that I'll be able to prove that this year.
Meantime, the club has confirmed that star international Hayley Matthews suffered an MCL injury in her right knee during last Sunday's match against the Melbourne Stars in Burnie. The Barbadian is expected to be out for 4 to 6 weeks, with English bowler Alex Hartley replacing her in the squad. The state's most exciting young surfers are set to battle it out for the chance to go head-to-head with some of the best talent Australia has ever produced. And with club bragging rights on the line, a competition is expected to be fierce. It's grown into the most popular event on the state's surfing calendar.
A whole range of surfers, from big wave surfers to junior surfers to our open champions, together in one intense little format.
Pitting Tasmania's 4 board riding clubs against each other in 3 hours of non-stop surfing, the winner of the weekend's Teams Challenge comes away as Tassie's top club, with the target firmly fixed on the backs of the men and women from South Arm after taking out last year's event.
They've got to get the best possible waves to a time structure. It can get down to literally the last 10 seconds where they're running up the beach to cross the line to finish.
The winning club travels to Newcastle next February to compete for the Australian team's title, up against the likes of former and current world champions in Mick Fanning, Joel Parkinson and Stephanie Gilmore.
There's a lot of money at stake and there's a lot of prestige, and certainly clubs, they thrive on this one.
The surfing begins Saturday morning on the Tasman Peninsula.
Good evening. Well, are you loving all the rain? I guess it'll turn up sometime. We did have a fall or two over King Island in the far northwest today. Meanwhile, Hobart reached 24 degrees, Launceston 25, Burnie 18 and Devonport 22. Cressy, Ouse, Grove and Campania 26, Strawn 24, Flinders Island 21 today, Smithton, Low Head and Friendly Beaches 19, King Island and St Helens 18, with some of those numbers up to 5 degrees below average. There is extensive cloud over the north and parts of the east coast today, a little thin elsewhere around Tasmania, but more to come. Plenty of cloud over southeast Australia, extending through Queensland to join with severe tropical cyclone Owen. Tomorrow, a low pressure zone deepens over Victoria. Owen is still active over the far north, as are the troughs. The next high is to our west. The winds east to southeast at 15 to 25 knots, reaching 30 knots over the north, swells at 2.5 metres. Strong wind warning from Sandy Cape to St Helens Point and also from southeast Cape to Low Rocky Point. Into tomorrow we go, a humid day, partly cloudy and 23 for Hobart, 23 also for Huonville, same sort of forecast for Campania, one better on the scorecard, 24. 26 for Launceston, possible light rain for Devonport as well, 23 and 25 the top for Georgetown. Burnie, humid, light rain, at times 22, 27 the top for Strawn, a humid day as well, mostly sunny though in the west, 22 the top for Wynyard. And for St Helens, a humid day with a bit of rain, 19 the top, 20 for Swansea, humid and partly cloudy for Port Arthur and 22 degrees. UV as high as 12. On Saturday, rain statewide with locally heavy falls over the north and east, a possible thunderstorm thrown in. A similar forecast has been posted for Sunday. The easterly winds will turn more northwesterly. And on Monday, a showery day, easing during the afternoon and contracting to the south. A very hot sunny day in Perth tomorrow. Showers for Adelaide, rainy over Melbourne, rain also for Sydney and storms forecast for Canberra, Brisbane and Darwin. A lot of the state still waiting for the rain. Hobart cloudy at the moment, 21 degrees, 22 in Launceston, cloudy in Devonport and 20. Got to say, Joe, tropical cyclone Owen has been very interesting. It started off on the Coral Sea about a week ago, lost a bit of puff, now redeveloped over the Gulf of Carpentaria, and over the next couple of days is going to be a severe low pressure zone over the north of the nation, and will start tracking down the east coast of Queensland. So plenty of action up there.
Certainly looks that way. Thank you very much for that, Murph.